Des Princess was enough to help seal the club's 10th League One trophy in its history. The Boston Celtics completed a 4-0 sweep over the Brooklyn Nets to book their place in the Eastern Conference semifinals. The second-seeded Celtics never trailed in a 116-112 victory in New York as Jason Tatum led with 29 points. Jaylen Brown added 22 points, while the Nets' Kevin Durant made 30. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this lunchtime news broadcast, where we catch up on the news making headlines across Namibia and expanding to the rest of the continent and the globe. In the news today, Brakwater residents fury over City of Windhoek's one water rate for all Windhoek residents. IPC local authority councillor in Otjiwarongo disputes accusations. Oldest woman in the world dies at age 119. We also take a look at the news headlining today's daily newspapers, bring you sports and economic news, and more international headlines. I am Glenn Rashipura, and this is NMH at 1. In today's midday news update, the Namibia's Capricorn Eagles take on the strong Zimbabwe women's team in the final match of the Capricorn Triangular T20 cricket series today, live from 1 p.m. You can catch the action on NTV channel 285 on DSTV and channel 94 on GoTV. It will be happening at 1:45 p.m. today. Now, the Namibian side, led by Captain Irene van Zyl, has already beaten Zimbabwe once before in this series. For the first time in history, can they deliver another huge upset at the CCD field in Pioneers Park with a trophy on the line? We'll soon find out. Do stay tuned for visual news right after the break. Let's take a look at our visual news from across the regions. Residents of Brakwater were up in arms at Monday evening's meeting with the City of Windhoek regarding the council resolution that states that there will be one rate for all residents in Windhoek, including Brakwater and the extended boundary area. Yolanda Nell was there. Let's take a look.
"22 letters has been written to you guys. None has been answered.
Yeah.
None has been answered. So I
Zero.
propose that we here convene a meeting, okay, and we decide here with the majority of hands now here, okay, that we want our questions answered officially. Then we can continue further. First, we want the commitment of City of Windhoek to implement their own resolutions, or to not implement, to hold by them. They've never held to these resolutions ever. Unilaterally all the time, arbitrarily all the time, they change it as they like. That's not the way we can engage as people with each other. So what I propose we decide here, by a show of hands, that we want an avenue, and you go back to your council and tell them we want a voice, or we got a voice, and we want to be, our questions needs to be answered. Then we've got a forum of discussion. You're not going to just put taxes on us. This is not a communist country. We've got rights. We've got we are citizens here. We are economically active people, more than anyone in Windhoek. We employ more people, and all those things. We're not going to be bullied, out of our money.
Management.
So can we have a show of hands that we need a communication back to the City of Windhoek?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's clearly a majority.
And clearly somebody from the municipality who can answer the questions and who will have legal status.
Can we just finish this?
Moving on to our next video. Independent Patriots of Change Local Authority Councillor for Otjiwarongo, Brakwater, who was suspended from council last week for allegedly contravening the council code of conduct, says that the accusations brought against her are false. She spoke to Ense Amwele.
Good day, I'm Councillor Brakwater, here from Otjiwarongo Municipal Council, and commenting on the recent developments which confirmed my suspension from council from the 13th of April to the 13th of May of this year. The accusations and allegations made against me are baseless and completely false. These facts, or the facts to prove my innocence, were laid before council, and despite them having that, they still found me guilty. How they do that, I am not sure. To my personal opinion, I think it is politically motivated, as council did not apply their minds when considering the motion against me or considering my defense against the motion. I am in consultation with my legal team at this point, and we are reviewing our stance in terms of whether we're going to take the decision of council on review at the High Court of Namibia, and also pursuing further legal avenues. I have not contravened the code of conduct, despite having been found guilty thereof. I did declare interest, despite not having any interest. And that can all be proved by documentation that I have availed to council, and I have to my disposal at any time that anybody would like to see it. I have nothing to hide, and I have no personal gain to achieve, or there's no personal gain for myself in the actions that were taken. I will not have changed my actions. There was nothing more or anything less I could have done. I have only served the citizens of Otjiwarongo to the best of my ability at all times, and I have served as a legitimate councillor and served with integrity at all times while I've been a councillor at Otjiwarongo.
Now, the All-African Business Leadership Roads will soon lead to Swakopmund. Here, our Erongo correspondent, Adam Hartman, speaks to the co-founder and president of the African Economic Leadership Council, Heinrich Hafeni, about their expo taking place at the coastal town from 23 to 25 May. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I am the co-founder and president of the Africa Economic Leadership Council. We are a Pan-African business organization focusing on connecting entrepreneurs and business leaders on the continent. Okay. We were inspired, obviously, through our the creation of the Africa Economic Leadership. We saw that Africa is open for business, which is AU Agenda 2063 program, which is the Continental Free Trade Agreement that came into operation last year. Okay. That means that there is a policy that 54 African governments have signed to increase trade among Africans. The current statistics, which is about 17%. Mm-hmm. So Africa Economic Leadership, the co-founder from South Africa and me, together with our secretariat partners in other African countries, Ghana, Zambia, Nigeria, Cameroon, to name a few, we decided that we want to, as the captains of the Africa Economic Leadership Council, to start this Pan-African business organization And as you know, last year, April, we launched here on the 6th of April in Swakopmund, where we invited the Secretary General for the Continental Free Trade Agreement area, Wamkele Mene, to come officiate and launch our organization, and also the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of International Relations, Honorable Netumbo Ndaitwa, together also with our Governor of Erongo, and also the distinguished business people that were present. Yeah. So fast forward, a year later, we just launched our South African chapter in South Africa to be able to also be present in South Africa. As we are speaking now, on the 3rd of May, we will be in Gaborone, where we will be meeting the government Minister of SMEs in Botswana to be able to also host a business continental free trade breakfast session, and also at the same time advocate for Swakopmund program that we are hosting, which is themed Discover Namibia Intra-Africa Trade Expo. Mm-hmm. Yes, that will happen on the 23rd and the 25th of May at the Swakopmund Hotel and Entertainment Center. You know, when we talk about intra-Africa, the business people here, they only know about doing business in Namibia. Yeah. So we have engaged with the central government, corporate, diplomatic missions who are based in Windhoek to come and trade and expose business opportunities here at the Discover Namibia Intra-Africa Trade Expo. Sure. Africa is saying is open for business. It's an opportunity, and remember this opportunity only came into operation last year in January. So if we are sleeping, and it requires a lot of the private sector to organize themselves to complement the Continental Free Trade Agreement area that has been signed. It's obviously a lot of policies and a lot of intervention that still need to be discussed to make it more honorable. But our core focus, I mean, we are talking with the Namibia Investment Promotion Development Board because they are ours, and we are saying that we want to hold hands. Yeah. We will send a lot of letters and mails and invitation to who's who of business Namibia. And we also have speakers from Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, and we also invited the Secretary General of the Continental Free Trade to come back over here again. But again, this is not just about Namibia, but Namibia has an opportunity to be able to expose, to now prepare itself as a destination for investment for African business people.
And with that, we wrap up our visual news segment. When we return, we'll be taking a sneak peek inside Namibia's daily print publications. But first, a quick ad break. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The Namibian Sun newspaper leads with squabbles at the Grootfontein municipality, where the former mayor Lovisa Iyambo has called for the current mayor Talita Garises to be recalled, saying that she is a tribalist and accusing her of conniving with opposition councillors to victimize the controversial CEO of the municipality, Kisko Sindulba. Garises hit back at these claims, stating that Koko Hwahap-speaking residents are not wanted in leadership positions at the town.
They are also together with these people. Yeah. Do justice to everybody. Who is the boss here? Who is the boss here? We know the boss. We know the cause.
We all know the cause.
CEO is not suspended.
He is suspended with a council resolution.
Whether we want it or not.
We all know the cause.
Council cannot suspend the CEO.
Council can pass a resolution, which is a law.
You supposed to tell the minister like that when the minister tells you that you did.
The minister did not say that he must come back.
Illegal things here. Let us do the things following.
Let we finish our illegal things then.
No.
Let we finish our illegal things.
Just follow the local authority act. Follow the local authority act. Follow the local authority act.
You people want to come and bulldoze here.
Bulldoze. He went through the interview.
Moving on its page 3, the Namibian Sun reminds of Namibia's unemployment crisis According to the paper, only 8.6% of 17,002 job seekers who registered on government's job database through the Employment Information System during the 2020 to 2021 financial year were gainfully employed. From today's front page of Republican, farmers in southern Namibia continue to report that a locust outbreak in the Hardap and Karas regions are not under control, as the Ministry of Agriculture claims. Farmers say that they are still spending huge amounts of money to fight a record outbreak never seen in their lifetime. By Monday, large swarms of locusts were still reported in the vicinity of Granau, with columns as long as 7 kilometers. Swarms of locusts were also still being reported in the districts of Ariamsvlei, Varambat, and for the first time also at Koers. It is hoped that the cold weather can bring the locust outbreak under control. Now, after devastating veld fires in Namibia during 2021, regulations for producing charcoal have been changed. Farmers now have to clear 15 meters of land on their borders and must have written consent from all their neighbors to produce charcoal. The risk of veld fires increases substantially from May onwards. Amidst an apparently increasing split among the Ovaherero, some 120 members of the Herero faction that supports the recently elected Mushinde Kashiwa as the new paramount chief of the Ovaherero in Namibia made their way to the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development yesterday to demand that their preferred leader should be acknowledged by the Namibian government. This follows an extended gathering during the past weekend. People marched from the Ovaherero house in Katutura to the ministry in town, demanding that the state should desist from trying to appoint Vipirwa Kapuo, the chairman of the Ovaherero Chief Council, as the new Ombara. Now, the Allgemeine Zeitung also reports on the first Duke Literature Festival in Namibia, which took place from Thursday until Saturday last week. The three-day festival included panel discussions, workshops, and readings at the Goethe Institute. The event was organized by Remy Ngaimenje, who is also primarily responsible for the literary magazine Duke and the author of several award-winning short stories and one novel. Do stay tuned for more newspaper review right after the break.
Adam Tas is coming to Windhoek to help build a brighter future for education. Join us at the Sounds of Caring concert at Windhoek High School Vegkop on 20 and 21 May, where he will be performing with Von Arends and Rian Smith. Tickets cost $200 Namibian and are available via eticket.my.na. All proceeds go towards the African Child Development Trust.
We continue delving through our local newspapers. The Namibian reports on the Prime Minister, Saraku Kongwela Amandila, who came under fire after she said that the ruling SWAPO party should be kept in power until Jesus returns. The phrase was commonly used by former South African President Jacob Zuma in reference to the ANC. Opposition parties stated that the statement is a reflection of SWAPO's desperation to cling to power. On its page 3, the Namibian Sun reports of the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters political party, which is seemingly targeting businesses, shutting them down despite the police warning that chaos associated to the party will not be tolerated. NEFF yesterday blocked the security booms at Namib Mills, preventing the company's management from entering or leaving the premises. Now, the New Era reports on the case of Harvey Bolter, who faces 3 charges of contravening the Arms and Ammunition Act and 1 count of murder in the High Court. The British businessman is accused of murdering his farm manager, Gerhard, in Kamanyap last year. Bolter will make an appearance in court on 19th May. New Era also reports that 92% of the overall budget in the Ministry of Gender Equality, Poverty Eradication and Child Welfare for this financial year has been allocated towards social protection services. This amount totals 5 billion Namibian dollars and will be used up in social grants for pensioners, persons with disabilities and child welfare grants. In the youth supplement, the Zone dubs Andeline Wieland as a fairy godmother from her Snow White project, which helps young ladies from all walks of life to experience a fairy tale metric farewell. Now, Market Watch reports that Standard Bank, which operates in Namibia, Angola, Ghana, Mozambique, Mauritius, and Zambia, has observed a boost in profits, which can be linked to rising interest rates, higher economic activity, and increased commodity prices. Now, on to some refreshing news for women in business, as 2 Namibian banking executives have been named among the top 100 women CEOs in Africa. When we return, we share more on these and other economic news stories. Let's take a look at our economic news. Now, on to some exciting news. 2 of Namibia's banking executives have been named among the top 100 women CEOs in Africa. Letshego Namibia Chief Executive Officer Esther Kali and Bank Windhoek Managing Director Baroness Hans have been included on the list compiled by Reset Global People in partnership with the Ghanaian Office of the President and Avance Media. According to The Brief, an online publication, the 2 women were recognized for their accomplishments as female administrative officers in charge of leading institutions on the continent. The top 100 women CEOs list features leading executives from 21 African countries who are heading various organizations that are excelling under their leadership on the continent and beyond. The list comes ahead of the 2022 to 2023 African Women CEO Summit to be hosted in Johannesburg, South Africa. Moving on to our next story. In neighboring South Africa, the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, last Friday gazetted new regulations to govern the Social Relief Distress Grant of 350 rands. Now, previously, the SRD grant was governed by the regulations under the State of Disaster Act, which has since been lifted. It was introduced to assist those left destitute by the COVID-19 lockdown. The new regulations are different in one important respect. Qualifying applicants must be poorer than before, raising the possibility that some who previously got the grant will no longer be able to do so. The income criteria for access to the grant was previously by ceiling of 595 rands, which was the food poverty line at the time. Anyone with income over 595 rands was excluded from the grant. The new income threshold is lower at 350 rands. Anyone with income above that will not qualify for a grant. Let's take a look at our economic indicators. The Namibian dollar is up by 0.1% in relation to the Chinese yuan, while dropping against these other major currencies. No new changes are observed in Namibia's stock exchange, according to available data. Local index remained the same on the NSX, while overall index has dropped by 4.41%. These major commodities are all down in value, with the exception of Brent crude oil, which is now valued at $103.40. The second Ebola patient dies in northwestern Congo, World Health Organization says. Stick around for the full story right after the break. You're watching NMH at 1. We now tackle news from across the continent. A second Ebola patient has died in Northwestern Democratic Republic of Congo, the World Health Organization said earlier today, days after a fresh outbreak of the deadly disease emerged. Genetics testing showed an infection confirmed last week was a new spillover event, a transmission from an infected animal and not linked to the last outbreak, which was declared over in December, the World Health Organization said on yesterday on Twitter. Now, the second fatality was a female relative of the first case, who a WHO spokesperson told Reuters. Now, the first patient began showing symptoms on April 5, but did not seek treatment for more than a week. He was admitted to an Ebola treatment center in Bandaka, the capital of Congo's Equatorial province, on April 21 and died later that day. Now, Congo has seen 13 previous outbreaks of Ebola, including one in 2018 to 2020 in the east that killed nearly 2,300 people, the second highest toll recorded in the history of the hemorrhagic fever. Moving on, the main jihadist alliance in the Sahel is holding a Russian member of the private military company Wagner captured in a central Mali, according to a claim on behalf of the movement sent to AFP. This is the first time that the Al-Qaeda linked has announced the capture of a Russian engaged in the anti-jihadist struggle in Mali. However, the GSIM did not provide any evidence to prove the accuracy of its announcement made in a communique on Sunday night. Mali, which has been run by the military since 2020, has called on what it describes as instructors from Russia to support its army, while Paris and Washington regularly denounce the presence in the country of mercenaries from the private Russian group Wagner, accusations firmly denied by Bamako. In our next story, it was a sunny afternoon in March. Abdul Rahman Yusuf was quiet as he lit a cigarette and drew heavily, puffing twice before passing it to a colleague. The stern eyes of the 17-year-old vigilante told the story of a child who had had to become a man earlier than he should have. In his penultimate year of high school, Yusuf voluntarily joined a vigilante group to face criminal gangs in his hometown of Tsafe, Zamfara, and northwest Nigeria. It was a mission of revenge after a close friend died in an attack by one of the gangs, locally known as bandits, in a nearby village. Now, across the region, banditry is rife. What began a decade ago as a tit-for-tat clash between sedentary Hausa farmers and nomadic Fulani herders over access to water and grazing land has morphed into a ballooning crisis in recent years. An estimated 12,000 people have died and hundreds of thousands more displaced across the northwestern states of Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, Katsina, and Kaduna since the conflict escalated in 2011, according to the Center for Democracy and Development, an Abuja-based policy and advocacy think tank. In sad news, the world's oldest woman, Kane Tanaka, has died at the age of 119. The full story coming up after the break.
Adam Tas is coming to Windhoek to help build a brighter future for education. Join us at the Sounds of Caring concert at Windhoek High School Vekkop on 20 and 21 May, where he will be performing with Von Arends and Rian Smith. Tickets cost $200 Namibian and are available via eticket.my.na. All proceeds go towards the African Child Development Trust.
You are watching NMH at 1. In our international news stories, Kane Tanaka, a Japanese woman believed to have been the world's oldest person, has died aged 119. Tanaka died at the old age hospital in southwestern Fukuoka City on April 19th. Japanese public broadcaster NHK reported. She was born in the Fukuoka region on January 2, 1903. The same year, the Wright brothers flew for the first time, and Marie Curie became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. She was confirmed as the world's oldest living person by Guinness World Records in 2019. Tanaka was in relatively good health until recently and lived at a nursing home where she enjoyed board games, solving math problems, fizzy drinks, and chocolate. She had been planning to join last year's torch relay for the Olympic Games, but pulled out because of the coronavirus concerns. Japan has an aging population with about 28% of people aged 65% or more. As of last September, the country had 86,510 centenarians, and 9 out of every 10 were women. Moving on to our next story. Israeli forces have killed a Palestinian man during a raid on the Akabet Jabbar refugee camp in the occupied West Bank city of Jericho, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health said he had been shot in the head in the early hours of Tuesday. He was transferred to the intensive care unit at Ramallah Hospital and remained there for several hours before he was pronounced dead. Israeli forces conducted a pre-dawn raid on the camp and arrested at least 2 Palestinians. In response to the killings, the Fatah movement in Jericho and the Jordan Valley announced a general strike on Tuesday. Now, 2 other Palestinians were killed over the past week in the West Bank. Tensions are high in Jerusalem and in the West Bank. A rise in attacks by Palestinians has led to the killing of 14 people in Israel since March 2020. Meanwhile, Israelis have killed at least 46 Palestinians from the West Bank since the beginning of 2022. Momentum is building in Namibia and Botswana's quest to co-host the 2027 AFCON tournament. This update coming to you after the break. Let's take a look at our local sports news. Momentum is building in Namibia and Botswana's quest to co-host the 2027 AFCON tournament. Namibia and Botswana's bid to host the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027 is gaining some ground, with the team having met with CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe to lobby his support. Motsepe is a guest speaker at the Forbes Under 30 Summit Africa. Now, the Capricorn Eagles have a date set with Zimbabwe in the final of Capricorn Triangular Women's Series yesterday afternoon at the CCD field in Windhoek. The final match will conclude in just a few hours as Namibia pursues a victory on home soil. Catch the match right after NMH at 1 on NTV channel 285 on DSTV. Now, moving on to our next story. The Archery Association of Namibia has a group of 7 archers leaving for Tambezimbe, South Africa, to compete at the African Regional Field Archery Competition from 29 April to 2 May. The participating teams are Namibia, Zambia, South Africa, and Botswana. This is the first international field archery competition since ARFAC 2019, hosted by Zambia, when Namibia archers performed well. Now, moving on to our international news stories. Former player Linde Butlehesi has advised Kaizer Chiefs interim coach Arthur Zwane to forge his own style of management. More on this after this short break. First up in our international news stories, former player Linde Butlehesi has advised Kaizer Chiefs interim coach Arthur Zwane to forge his own style of management to get the best out of his players. Zwane, together with Dillian Shepherd, suffered a defeat since the sacking of head coach Stuart Boxer to Stellenbosch FC in Cape Town on Saturday. With Paris Saint-Germain having reclaimed the Ligue 1 trophy over the weekend, Lionel Messi's commitment to the club has once again been questioned after he did not celebrate the title triumph with fans. Messi's goal in PSG's 1-1 draw with Lens at the Parc des Princes was enough to help seal the club's 10th Ligue 1 trophy in its history. Now, the Boston Celtics completed a 4-0 sweep over the Brooklyn Nets to book their place in the Eastern Conference semifinals. The second-seeded Celtics never trailed in a 116-112 victory in New York as Jason Tatum led with 29 points. Jaylen Brown added 22 points, while the Nets' Kevin Durant made 39 for his best game of the series. Do stay tuned for highlights right after the break. You are watching NMH at 1 and you have just joined us. Here are your news highlights. The Namibia's Capricorn Eagles take on the strong Zimbabwe's women's team in the final match of the Capricorn Triangular T20 cricket series today, live. You can catch the action on NTV channel 285 on DSTV and channel 94 on GoTV right after NMH at 1. Now, a second Ebola patient has died in Northwestern Democratic Republic of Congo, the World Health Organization said earlier today, days after a fresh outbreak of the deadly disease emerged. Kane Tanaka, a Japanese woman believed to have been the world's oldest person, has died aged 119. Tanaka died of old age at a hospital in southwestern Fakuka City on April 19th. She was confirmed as the world's oldest living person by Guinness World Records in 2019. Namibia and Botswana's bid to host the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027 is gaining some ground, with the team having met with CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe to lobby his support. Motsepe is a guest speaker at the Forbes Under 30 Summit Africa. Two of Namibia's banking executives have been named among the top 100 women CEOs in Africa. Letshego Namibia Chief Executive Officer Esther Kali and Bank Windhoek Managing Director Baroness Hans have been included on the list compiled by Reset Global People in partnership with the Ghanaian Office of the President and Avance Media. Those have been your highlights. Thank you for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Glenora Shipura. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. Let's take a look at the weather.
Patchy clouds and warm conditions are expected in Ngurunguru for the most of this week. Rundu is cloudy today, with conditions clearing somewhat during the rest of the week and temps hovering at around the 30-degree mark. Mostly sunny and pleasant conditions are forecast for Kongola, with mild temperatures at around 30 degrees. And finally, Katima is partly sunny and pleasant, with sunny skies and warmer temperatures expected as from Friday.